This is just wild. And I've got the attendance. 3,254 empty seats. It's officially the lowest game of the Caitlin Clark era. All right, so that includes all of 2024, all of 2025, and then this year, this is the lowest game of the regular season in the history of the Caitlin Clark era. Fans, obviously, voicing.
The Indiana Fever's home game against the Portland Fire ended in a win, but the result was far from the headline. The bigger story was in the stands. Official attendance came in at 14,010, with 3,254 seats left empty, making it the lowest attended game of the Caitlin Clark era, covering the full stretch of 2024, 2025, and the current season. Fans, it appeared, had made a deliberate choice with their wallets. The announcement that Clark would not play was not made public until about an hour and 20 minutes before tip-off.
Voicing their displeasure with their money. This got posted. This got sent to me. I got tagged. Wow, look what the Fever leadership has done. Lost all trust with fans, and fans are speaking. Look at the amount of empty seats at this game, folks. I mean, look at that. Wow. Oh my, that entire...
Resale ticket prices had already collapsed by that point, with some listings dropping to as low as $8 and change, and still going unsold. Photos shared after the game showed wide sections of empty rows throughout the arena, a visual that stood in sharp contrast to the sold-out atmosphere the venue had been known for since Clark joined the league. Several fans who traveled significant distances to attend the game expressed frustration publicly. One person noted they had flown in from Montana for that game, and the one scheduled for the following Friday. Others pointed to the previous season's pattern of vague updates. Phrases like game time decision and day to day that stretched on for weeks, and said the handling of this situation felt like a repeat of the same approach.
That entire... Wow, look at that. I mean, there were plenty of empty seats you could see on the television, but that did not tell the story. Look at that. Those tickets that I've been showing you, by the way, resellers had dropped tickets to $8 and like 35 cents. Something like that. $8, and they got down to...
Head coach Stephanie White, when asked by reporters how the team learned Clark would not be available, said the decision was made around 5 Luxo in the afternoon. She described Clark waking up with stiffness and soreness, and said the team chose to be cautious rather than risk further damage. When asked if there was any concern beyond that day, she said, there was not, though she noted she is not a medical professional. That answer drew scrutiny because it sat awkwardly beside a statement White had made pregame in which he said Clark was healthy and the team was not managing anything. Saying a player is healthy and not being managed while simultaneously sitting her due to a back issue and declining to take a chance struck many as contradictory, coming from the person within the same day.
That's something like that. $8, and they got down to $8.35. Didn't sell. Did not sell. People are angry. That announcer saying Gamebridge was sold out when I can see lots of empty seats where my own eyeballs is hilarious. Here is another person that was at the game. Look at that. Look at all them. Look at all those empty seats. I mean, all good.
There is also a procedural issue being raised around league rules.m. legal time, the day before a game.m. on game day.
Look at all those empty seats. I mean, oh, good God. All these empty seats. Look at these. There's empty seats everywhere. In this day, over there, over there, over there, over there, all through there. Wow. Wow. I mean, I'm going to tell you, Caitlin Clark fans are pissed. Ken Swift, I got messages from several fans who came a long way to see the game. I don't.
M. on the day of the game, which, depending on interpretation, puts the team in potential violation of those reporting requirements by nearly a full day. Whether the league office will review the matter remains an open question. Critics of the local media coverage have also pointed out that reporters in Indianapolis have been relatively restrained in pressing on these issues. The argument being made is that outlets with regular access to the organization have little incentive to ask aggressive questions that might strain that relationship.
I don't know what the Indiana Fever do now. I don't know what they do now. They were already having a hard time putting fans in the seats because of what happened last year. Now they've done it again. And something I need to bring up. If this is a legit back injury, although some people are very much speculating that this is a suspension because of what happened with the coach and Caitlin Clark the other day, we've all sat back. We've known something's going on with the...
From the outside, that restraint looks less like professional balance and more like institutional protection. The empty seats, the collapsed resale market, and the fans who flew across the country only to watch from the stands, without the player they came to see. None of it got the kind of direct, uncomfortable follow-up questioning that comparable situations involving high-profile teams in other leagues would typically generate. Won the game itself, but it was described as a difficult viewing experience. Slow, half-court heavy, and lacking energy, Kelsey Mitchell finished with 21 points on 6 of 11 shooting, while Aaliyah Boston added 24 on 8 of 11. The Portland Fire, widely considered one of the weakest rosters in the league, provided little resistance.
Back. And we'll get to Stephanie White's comments in a minute. I mean, wow. We're really here. Fans are not, they already didn't trust this organization. Now what? And the WNBA, let's make something clear. The WNBA is not in a position to start load management. You're not the NBA.
The broader concern now for the organization is not whether they can win games in Clark's absence, but whether the trust required to keep fans showing up and spending money can be rebuilt after being broken twice in the same way. Caitlin Clark has been ruled out of Indiana's game against Portland with a back injury, confirmed by Indy Star reporter Chloe Peterson and echoed by multiple WNBA reporters shortly before tip-off. The announcement came after the team's pregame walkthrough, and crucially, Clark had not appeared on the official injury report released the previous day, which listed no injuries for either side heading into the contest. The timing has reignited the same concerns that surfaced repeatedly of last season. Throughout the early weeks of the current season, observers had noticed Clark adjusting what appeared to be a back brace during games, with coaching staff offering explanations that framed the device as a routine support measure rather than a sign of any underlying issue.
To start load management. You're not the NBA. And by the way, they've lost a ton of fans over load management. But the WNBA is not in that position. Fans are going to quit showing up. I got messages from several fans who came a long way to see the game at Indiana Fever. Do your fans a service. Give them as much notice as possible. In situations like this, especially in this economy, they made a point. They made a point to not tell people because they wanted to maximize.
Those assurances now read differently. In light of the ruling that she cannot play, fans who had been watching closely noted that coach Stephanie White had been rotating Clark in and out of the previous game in a pattern that, in hindsight, suggested something was being managed, though nothing was publicly disclosed. The injury report issued the night before the Portland game was unambiguous. No players listed, no concerns flagged. The organization's position, when pressed, became that the injury developed or worsened during the morning walkthrough. That explanation has not satisfied supporters, who point out that Clark had skipped practice the day before to receive treatment, a fact that only emerged after the game, and one that league rules required the team to report.
This news right here. Reported that Caitlin Clark has been ruled out with the back injury for tonight's game after the Fever's pregame walkthrough. She was not on the injury report yesterday, and just like I stated, she has not been on any injury report. Us as fans has been watching Caitlin Clark really try to get her feet under her throughout this season. In last game, she looked it pretty damn good. Now, we know that Stephanie White pulled her out of the first quarter within 7 minutes left, and she kept kind of like pulling Caitlin out, putting her back in, and now we know why. But all we ask.
The window between what the Fever communicated officially and what was actually happening internally has become the focal point of the outrage. Scott Agnes, the reporter who initially framed the absence as part of a strategic management plan for the season, saw his comment section fill within minutes of the post going up. Fans questioned the wording directly, asking why the report used the word strategic rather than citing an injury, and why, if a plan had been in place, it was not disclosed the day before. The dual explanations circulating simultaneously, one about rest management and one about a legitimate physical injury, have only deepened the distrust rather than resolving it. The broader implications for the NBA are also being raised.
Back in, and now we know why. But all we asked for was transparency, bro. Keep it real. And that's something the Indiana coaching staff just did not do. If Caitlin Clark was hurt, y'all should have just told us she was hurt. Why y'all had to, she was adjusting back brace, the lies, the constantly saying it's this, it's that, she's not hurt, she's ready to go. Fans right now are livid online, and they have every right to be.
Indiana currently sits 5th in attendance league-wide, a drop from where the franchise stood the previous year. Viewership and in-person attendance for Fever games are both considered heavily dependent on Clark's presence, a long-term back issue that limits her availability, or the perception that the organization cannot be trusted to communicate honestly about her health, carries consequences that extend beyond any single game. The fan base, built around Clark's arrival, is a relatively recent development, and it is also one that has shown it will not absorb continued disappointment passively.
Now, fans is completely outraged. One fan say, Chloe, please ask Stephanie White what is going on. Never shares anything about their situations and her. I haven't heard anything. Gimmick is really old when she's supposed to know these things as a head coach. Another fan stated ticket sales needed to run up until 2 hours before the game. LOL, clearly, this was in the plan, so how she wasn't on the report.
There is also a circulating theory, not confirmed, but being repeated widely enough to warrant mention, that an ESPN reporter's comment roughly a week and a half prior suggesting the Fever performed better without Clark may have reflected advanced knowledge of what was coming. The connection being drawn is that Stephanie White's spouse works as an anchor at ESPN, raising questions in some quarters about whether information was being shared informally before any official disclosure took place. That line of thinking remains speculative, but it reflects the degree to which trust in the organization's communications has deteriorated. Fans who had made plans to attend games are again in the position of having those plans disrupted.
This was in the plan, so how she wasn't on the report yesterday? Exactly, y'all. They did this last year. They kept it a secret to continue to sell tickets. This is the type of organization we are dealing with. They is out for self, and Caitlyn need to get the hell out of Indy. This fan stated inverted P&R screens on the post. Players, I don't know if it's a good idea. Somebody else said this organization is an effing joke. Something is not right, and Caitlyn needs to leave here soon.
The pattern described last season, purchasing tickets, arranging schedules, and absorbing the disappointment of a last-minute absence, is repeating itself. Calls for boycotts have started appearing online, and the sentiment that Clark's long-term future in Indiana is in question has gained further traction. Whether the current injury represents a short-term setback or something more significant remains unclear. What is clear is that the manner in which it has been handled has done further damage to a relationship between the franchise and its supporters that was already operating on strained terms.
Joke. Something is not right, and Caitlyn needs to leave here soon. I'm not the only person that feels this way. Many other fans across the WNBA, and especially Caitlin Clark Nation, feel like the Indiana Fever is trying to sabotage her. And we just heard ESPN reporter state like a week and a half ago, the Fever is so much better without Caitlin Clark. Did they know something that we didn't know? Because we all know Stephanie White, wife, is an anchor at ESPN. Was she leaking stuff? Stephanie White, wife, is an anchor at ESPN. Was she leaking stuff to ESPN weeks before? Because when Caitlin Clark went to that locker room, that was like the first or second game we seen her adjusting that back brace allegedly. I don't know, give her comfort and make sure her back stay in line. And for Caitlin Clark to kind of go along with the lie, I'm just kind of like lost for words. But this was the injury report that was released yesterday before the game. It stays here. Tomorrow's game versus Portland, no injuries. Nobody's hurt. Now, tomorrow's game versus Portland, no injuries. Nobody's hurt. Now y'all trying to say Caitlin Clark back was messed up during a walkthrough today in warm-ups? What make it make sense? The world literally sent her, go to the locker room. Holly Rowe straight talked about this on ESPN. We cannot forget this. They been knew Caitlin Clark was dealing with back issues. They're lying to us. We're not done yet. We still got fans talking about this whole We're not done yet. We still got fans talking about this whole situation. One fan stated this was a strategic plan. Would mean they would plan this out ahead of time. So why wait hours before to let fans know other than money? Exactly. This is about the Fever and the WNBA making money off Caitlin Clark. They don't really care about us. They only care about the dollar signs, man. Now, I ain't seen Scott Agnes comment